Hello everyone. Let's start with our today's session. But before we let dive into our today's topic, let's first revise what we have covered in previous session. So in previous session, we discussed about Wi-Fi security, and we discussed about what is Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi is basically stands for wireless fidelity, and it is how we connect to internet or connect devices with each other. So this was a definition of Wi-Fi. And what is the importance of using Wi-Fi? We discussed that in previous session. That in today's world, Wi-Fi is most important part of connecting to a network, and we can connect to it wirelessly. So that is the main importance of having Wi-Fi networks. Now there are types of Wi-Fi networks. So we discussed about home networks, public networks, and school and office networks. And then we discussed about what are the common Wi-Fi vulnerabilities that are present in today's world. So those were open and unsecured networks, weak passwords, outdated router firmware, no encryption, and poor router placement. These were the common vulnerability points where the Wi-Fi can be compromised and our data can be breached. So we discussed about these and how to fix them, and after that we discussed about what are the dangers of using public Wi-Fi. So public Wi-Fi does not have any encryption, so data is transferred in plain text, which is human readable, and there's no user authentication in public networks as well. And there are several risks of using public networks, risks like man in the middle attack, data interception, fake hotspots, and malware injection. So these were the risks or hidden dangers of public Wi-Fi. After that, we discussed about the safe practices for public Wi-Fi, that we must use a VPN, we must avoid accessing sensitive information like our banking accounts and government accounts. We must avoid using them while we are on public Wi-Fi's. We must disable auto connect to networks which is present in our devices, which will automatically connect to open networks, as these public Wi-Fi's don't have any protection, and that includes that they are open networks. So we must disable this setting, that auto connect to open networks. And then we must prefer mobile data or public Wi-Fi. It will be better to use mobile data instead of using public Wi-Fi's, as we don't know how many devices are connected to them, and if one of these devices is malicious device or have any malicious intent of connecting to the public Wi-Fi. So it is preferable and advisable to use mobile data over public Wi-Fi's, and we must log out before disconnecting from that Wi-Fi or log out from services. After that, we discussed about how can we simplify our life by using password managers. So we can use password managers to simplify our life, as we don't have to remember a lot of passwords, and the managing of password is done by these password managers. So there are some password managers that we discussed, and we also had a demo about it. So we can use those password managers, and we'll be discussing how to use a password manager in this session also. And after that, we also discussed about the components of a Wi-Fi network or a home network. So there were three components of Wi-Fi network. First one was router, second one is SSID or the Wi-Fi name, and third one is encryption protocol that is used in our network, which was WPA2 or WPA3. Now, what are the risks associated in home network? So first one is bandwidth theft. Second one was personal data leakage, and third one was access to smart home devices. So these were the risks that are present if we leave our home Wi-Fi unprotected. After that, we discussed about how can we secure our home network. So first one was change the admin username and password, that is default, and enable the encryption, which is WPA3 for the latest standards. Or if we don't have the WPA3 encryption available to us, we must enable it WPA2. After that, we must also disable WPS, which is Wi-Fi protected setup, from our Wi-Fi router, which allows to connect to devices using 8 digit code, which can be cracked pretty easily. After that, we discussed about that using a strong Wi-Fi password can also help us secure our home network, and hiding the SSID for guests if not needed for guests. So these were some ways to secure our home network. After that, we discussed about what is home net or guest network. So guest network is basically segregation inside the home network, which isolates our main network and provides limited access permissions to the guests connected to that network. And we must also turn this off when not in use. After that, we discussed about how router placement affects the uh, security and risk associated with it. So if we place it in a central location, better coverage and less external exposure will be there, and that will get more bandwidth for our devices, as well as if the range is going through our walls and outside, the person passing by our house can easily get access to Wi-Fi, as it will be displayed on their devices, and they might try to crack the password and get access to our home network. So it is advised to use the central placement for Wi-Fi devices and restrict the physical access if we are living in a shared housing. We can also enable parental controls and device monitoring by using the built-in parental controls for kids, and then we must monitor the device connected via dashboard. We must limit the unknown devices. So these were the things that we discussed in previous session. So now today's session we are having, like, how can we use a password manager, or what are the benefits basically using the password manager. So let's start with our today's session. So let's start with our today's session. What is a password manager? Password manager is basically a digital tool that stores and manages our passwords securely, which helps us generate strong, unique passwords for each of our online accounts. Now, why do we need these strong and unique passwords for our online accounts? Because what happens is, if our password is weak and it is not unique, it can be easily guessed. Then if someone can guess our password pretty easily, then they might get access to our account. So it is really important to set a strong and unique password for our online accounts. And if we set a weak and non-unique password for our online accounts, if one of our account gets breached, those details can be used to access our other accounts as well. That is why it is said that to generate a strong and unique password for each of our online accounts. Now, why do we need password managers? People tend to reuse password across multiple sites, as what happens is, if a person is not good with password, it will try to create one strong password and unique password and then use it across multiple sites, as it is convenient to use single password for different websites, and we don't have to remember each one of them. So that is the main need of password managers, because people tend to reuse passwords across multiple sites. Remembering complex passwords for every account is difficult. As I said, that remembering password for every service is very difficult, and it you might forgot to remember what password did you set for which service. So that is why we need password managers. After that, cyber attacks like phishing, hacking, and data breaches are increasing, where if the service that you have created an account on gets attacked or cyber attacked, and they get vulnerable to these things like data breaches, and your password got leaked in that data breach. Now all your online accounts are susceptible if that data breach contains your password. So it is advised to use different password for different sites. So we must use password manager, or if we cannot remember them. So that is how we need password managers. So password managers securely encrypt our passwords in one place. Password managers securely encrypt your passwords in one place. Now what happens is, they will store the password that can only be seen by us, and it will be stored in the database in a completely encrypted format which they cannot read or understand. So that is why we need password managers. Those were the reasons why do we need password managers. Now, benefits of using a password manager. Now, benefits of using a password manager are, they generate strong and unique passwords. It saves time to use password manager as they provide autofill feature as well, where we just have to click on autofill and it will fill our username and password in the text box. So it saves time, instead of typing or getting into hassle of looking at it and typing the password. It just copy and paste it, autofill, using the autofill feature. Now, secure sharing with family and team. We can export our password and we can share our password with family or with team using these password manager, and it will be encrypted and it will not be breached. So it is also for secure sharing. We can use password manager. Protection against phishing. So password managers also provide protection against phishing, as if we don't remember our password and we use password manager, and if we have a site that is trying to fish the details out of us, what it will do, it will not show an autofill feature, and if it does show an autofill feature while we try to log in, it won't allow us to proceed because the domain will be different. So this is how the password manager protects us against phishing. Access across devices. We can sync our password manager through devices like multiple devices, phones, laptops, tablets, and many more, like desktop. So we can access this password managers across devices, which will sync up. If we create one password using our mobile device and we then want to access it on laptop, we can do it because it will allow us to sync those devices. So if we have like access across devices, then it is also a plus point. This is also a benefit of using a password manager. Alert for weak and compromised password. Now, what these services do, these services like a password manager keeps on checking for the password breaches and keeps us updated about what cyber incidents has occurred and how many services are affected by that cyber incident. So it alerts us for weak or compromised passwords and what are how cyber attacks have been conducted and which services are affected. How does a password manager work? Now, the working of password manager is pretty simple. You create one master password, the only password you need to remember to access your account. Now, the password manager encrypts and stores your credentials. When you visit a website, it autofills your login details securely. Many password managers sync data across all your devices. Now, what happens is when you create your account on a password manager, they will encrypt your details and then store it in the database. Now the database manager or the database administrator is not will not able to see the credentials of your or you can say your credentials in plain text. It will be some random characters that are present in the database. So this is what it means that password manager encrypts and stores your credentials. So no one will be able to read your credentials except you or the person who has access to your account, and they log in using the credentials that you set. So that is how password managers are secure. When you visit a website, it autofills your login details securely. Now, as we discussed in previous session, while the demo about the Bitwarden, how we can create the account or password manager, there we have seen a lot of options when we are creating a password for or saving the password for, let's say, a service Facebook. So when we're trying to save that, it asks us to copy and paste the domain of that or the route of that website. So it autofills login details securely by using this autofill feature. So if we try to use autofill on a phishing website, it will autofill, but it will not allow us to proceed as the URL or the domain will not match. Many password managers sync data across all your devices. Most of the password managers sync data across all your devices. As I said earlier as well, that these password managers sync across devices, and if even if you created a password using your mobile device, that can be accessed on your laptop as well using that password manager. So this is how a password manager works. Now we can simplify our life with password managers. Some of the examples that we had discussed in previous sessions as well is Bitwarden, for which I have already shown you or demonstrated you how you can create and start using Bitwarden on your devices. LastPass, one password, KeyPass. These are some examples of password managers that you can use and keep ourselves protected. What they'll do, they'll generate and store strong passwords securely. They'll sync across devices, and we just have to remember the password for these accounts. Like if we have account or create account in Bitwarden, we just have to remember that one password that will be required to use Bitwarden. Now, what are the features that we must look for if we don't want to use these examples that we have over here? Now, the features that we must look for is end-to-end encryption. End-to-end encryption allows us, or it tells us that the data is encrypted from my end up to the receiving end. So even if someone intercepted our data, they won't be able to read it and understand it. What is the data going through the network? So end-to-end encryption allows us to be more secure, as there won't be any plain text going through the data or stored in the database. Now, multi-factor authentication. Authentication is the must feature that we must look for, as it allows an extra layer or adds an extra layer of security. Even if our password got breached, then it will send a notification, or it will ask us to authenticate ourselves while logging into our account. So this feature is also a must look for feature while looking for a password manager. Password generator tool. Password generator tool will help us or aid us in generating a strong and unique password, as these password generator tools will specify or share a random string of characters that we can use as a password. So password generator tool must be there in a password manager. Breach alerts. Well, this one is the most important feature for our password managers, because what's the use of a password manager if they cannot alert us about breach alert? Like if our password is breached and they don't know that that password is breached or the database is breached, then there's no point of using that, as if we won't be alerted or we won't know, we won't be aware about that our password is breached and we kept on using that. So that can be a high risk, as someone might get access or gain access using that same password if our password is breached. So breach alerts are a must feature that we must look for. Cross device syncing. Well, cross device syncing allows us to use these applications or password managers across devices and sync up across other devices. For example, let's say I created a password on my device, a mobile device, and want to access it on my laptop, and then want to try to log in using my computer or a desktop. Then cross device syncing comes in play. So if the password manager allows us to have cross device syncing, then the password created using mobile device can be accessed on laptop and desktop as well. So cross device syncing is also a feature that we must look for in password managers. Zero knowledge policy. Provider cannot see your data. Now, zero knowledge policy is also a must feature that you must look for while looking for a password manager, as zero knowledge policy will keep them unaware of what is the data stored by the customer in their password manager, as it will provide us extra layer of security that even if their database is breached, they won't be having any information for their customers, and the database will be useless for them, the person who has breached the database. So zero knowledge policy is also a must. Now, free password manager tools that are present are Bitwarden, which is open source and highly secure. It has both free and paid plans. There is also NordPass, which is free, for which we use free version, which is developed by NordVPN team, and it has the easiest interface for beginners. LastPass, you can consider free plan, which is user friendly and cloud based storage. It stores the data on cloud servers. Limited device types on free plan. It provides limited device types on their free plan. KeyPass is an offline password manager ideal for tech-savvy users. We can download download KeyPass on our device and use it as an offline password manager, where we can store our password in our device only and cannot be accessed online. As we have already seen the demo for Bitwarden on how to create an account on Bitwarden, we won't be going through this again. And I have already told you that you can create your Bitwarden account by going to their website, click on signing up, and then going down, selecting the free plan, and then starting to create your account by entering your details such as email and your name, on which it will send a verification link. And then after clicking the verification link into your email, sent to your email, you will be asked to create a password. When you create a password and then you create a master password, after that you will be shown to the dashboard of your account. Once you get dashboard to your account, you can create a strong master password, or and you can start using that, where you can also import your previous password using a CSV file if you are using any previous password managers. And you can also have functionality of exporting your password once you want to switch to a better service, so you can start saving your credentials securely. Now, tips for setting a master password: use long phrase, minimum 12 to 16 characters. It is advised to create a password of 12 to 16 characters, as it will take a computer longer period of time to crack the password. So it is advised to use a long phrase, minimum 12 to 16 characters. Mix uppercase, lowercase letters, numbers, and special symbols, as it will also increase the number of possible uh, guesses of that password. So it is advised to use uppercase, lowercase letters, numbers, and special symbols. Avoid using personal information like birthdays or names, which are easily guessable. So avoid using these personal information like birthdays or names or your addresses, or including even setting your phone number. So avoid using personal information like these. People tend to use these kind of information, which is easy to guess and can be easily cracked. So avoid using a personal information. There's an example that is present over here. Like, it is a long phrase. It says, my dog loves at to play in the park. So this is how we can create a strong password. It has a perfect mixture of uppercase, lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. So this is how you can create a strong password, a strong master password. Now there are some tips of protecting your home network. Now, why do we need to protect our home network? We need to protect our home network because password managers protect online accounts, but our Wi-Fi network needs protection too. That is why we must enable encryption, WPA2 or WPA3. We must use a strong Wi-Fi password. Change the default router admin password that is provided by the ISP at the time of installation. We must update router firmware regularly. Turn off network features when we don't use. So these are some security tips, network security tips that we must home networks that we must use to protect our home Wi-Fi network. So now, as we have approached to the end of our session, let's discuss our the assignment first, and then we'll go to the quiz section. So today's assignment is, you have to compare three popular password managers, Bitwarden, LastPass, or OnePassword, in a table with features, security, and cost, and then upload your assignment on this Google form, or scan this QR code to access the form where you have to upload your assignment. So this is module 7 of our internship, and you have to upload your assignment and then close the form. As you won't be able to submit the form, as it will ask you to upload all 10 assignments. So we are on module 7. As we go and move on, you will be getting more assignments. So for today, you have to upload a module 7 assignment, and then you have to close the form. So now let's move on to our quiz section for our today's quiz. Uh, so why reusing the same password across multiple websites is risky? So using multiple password or multiple same password across multiple website is risky because even if one of our password is breached, the hacker might try to stuff those credentials into different website and multiple websites and gain access to those accounts as well. So that is why reusing same password across multiple devices is risky. What are the three important features you should check before choosing a password manager? Three important features that we must check for before choosing a password manager are: first, it must have breach alert; second, it must have multi-factor authentication; third, it must have a password generation tool; it must have end-to-end encryption; it must have cross-device syncing, zero knowledge policy. So these are some important features that we must check before choosing a password manager. Tell a strong master password example, minimum 12 characters, following a good password practice. So this can be like any password. For, let's say, for example, my dog loves to eat pizza. So this can be an example where we can substitute a with the at the rate symbol, and we can also include a numbers like pizza at 2. So this is how we can create strong password following the good password practices. Thank you guys for joining today's session. Let's discuss the key takeaway for today's session. So today's session we discussed about password managers help create, save, and manage strong password. Password managers can also help us manage our passwords, and it will takes away the hassle of remembering password for different services. By choosing a trusted password manager with encryption, multi-factor authentication, we can be more secure and will be more aware of our password. Don't neglect home network protection alongside your account security, as password managers provide online security for our accounts. Home network should not be neglected and should also be taken care of. We have discussed some tips that we can use to protect our home networks as well. So this is what we discussed for today's session. Now let's connect on tomorrow with our new topic and with our new session. Thank you guys for joining today's session, and we'll see you tomorrow.